Hello everyone, Prime here. Today we're going to be talking about why you should play For Honor in Season 7 and 8, i.e. the Marching Fire update that will be coming out in October. First and foremost, we have the new player experience, and in a lot of games this can really suck. Grindy, uninviting, just generally a horrible mess. And if you've never played the game, you'll have to first pick a faction, which has no real impact on the gameplay itself and will determine what shape your emblem shield will be. And if you're playing the Starter Edition, which heroes will be yours for free. If you consider the faction war a minigame, or you're for some reason seriously interested in that part of the game, then perhaps you might care about this decision, but otherwise factions don't mean much of anything. After that, the trials will take care of you, and are a much better system for teaching you the game than what we had at the launch of the game. Though, to be fair, at the launch of the game, pretty much everyone sucked, so it wasn't as necessary, in comparison to now at least. On top of that, the training arena will help you to get the timings down for any individual characters that you need to practice your timings against, like say Aramusha or Peacekeeper. It's arguably one of the best inclusions the game's seen, and was something that players were asking for a long time, but we got it, and personally noticed a lot less whining about Character X being OP since it was included in the game. That's not to say that the game is perfectly balanced, but unlike this time last year, where a few characters like the Warlord had an answer for pretty much every character, things feel a lot fairer overall. At least in Dominion. Duel. Those are the modes that I actually play. And even then, I only really play Dominion. On top of that, the story also does a decent job of teaching you the basics whilst letting you practice them. But the only few things to note is that not every character in the story mode will be exactly the same as their multiplayer counterparts, and there's also an added benefit of playing the campaign in that you can play the realistic mode, which removes all the HUDs, so you can get more used to the animations of each of the different characters. Of course, you could accomplish the same thing just by turning off the HUD in the UI for the game, but the UI can be helpful for other reasons as well. But yeah. Now, despite all of that, the game still takes some time to learn. It's not that big of a time investment, but it's still a time investment. And of course, that will vary depending on how good you are at the game. It's a lot more than your usual game gives you, and the game isn't for everyone. I suppose the best way to think of it is as a mainstream fighting game, which I suppose it really is when you look at it. Learning curve is there, and once you're past it, the game is fun. My advice is to find one character you like, or a few characters that are like each other, and use them to get nicely geared out or to learn the game and become familiar with it. Now, another great thing about the game is that there's plenty of content for new players to unlock. This game has been out for over a year, and that means that tons of executions, emotes, battle outfits, yay battle outfits, and gear with stats, which mostly unique, is available for you to grind for and unlock. I mean, there is a paid option. You can buy steel and just straight up just have anything that you might want, but the daily orders alone, which are like a sort of quest system that gives you an amount of XP and steel being the currency of the game. If you do just your daily quests every day for a week, you can have about 5,600 steel. Any one of the DLC characters only costs about 15k steel, so you can imagine that it probably wouldn't take you too long to unlock them. Remember, there are more ways of farming steel than just the daily orders. You've also got steel for completing the trials and the campaign. You also get a set amount of steel for completing matches, and that comes with XP as well, depending on which of those you're doing. Not everything will give you steel, but most things give you steel, and more things give you steel than XP. On top of that, the devs launch new content on a weekly basis. Of course, things like executions aren't exactly shelled out in massive quantities, but you'll have enough to work with. The devs also listen to the community. See, recently they were planning on removing a bunch of emotes and outfits and executions because they were cluttering the UI, as dev put it. But as you'd imagine, people weren't exactly happy with content disappearing. The consensus was that this content would always be there, so we could buy it whenever we wanted. Now, these items all went on sale, but when Ubisoft found out that people didn't like their idea, they reverted it, but kept the discounts going. If nothing else, it's a step up from the sorts of mentalities they were showing off at the launch of the game, and the whole shopping analogy. Despite all of this time passing, the strongest element of the game is more or less still the same, and that's that it feels amazing to play. Even just damaging someone with a Raider's Axe or Conqueror's Flail feels damn near divine. It's the sort of thing that you need to play yourself to understand, but trust me, it does feel good. It makes moments from winning a multi-fight where you're outnumbered all the more sweeter. The caveat to that is that learning the game feels a lot more brutal than other games. But hey, at least a lot of the characters are viable or at least usable in a lot of the modes. And while Dominion, which I think is the most played mode in the game, it's my favorite mode at least, you can pretty much use anyone and make them effective in some way. Now besides everything that we've talked about, there is a ranked mode with For Honor, and it even had exclusive rewards. It lacked a Grandmaster rank, but its biggest issue was the sheer amount of time that it took to complete just one match. And considering the fact that you needed to complete 20 matches just to get a rank, you can imagine why a lot of people got fed up with the mode fairly quickly. The reason why the matches were so long is because it worked pretty much how you'd expect a tournament to work. Two people fight, the winner moves on to the next fight, they have to wait for the other people's match to be completed so that they can get a pair. It goes on like this until the last match, and then they win and the tournament's over. But coming with Season 7 is a more traditional rank mode. Now, it's only going to be for duel, but it should be the standard one-on-one, win-lose. After that specific match, you then get your rank. After that specific match, then you've completed one match to qualify with, and you need to complete a certain match to, you know, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 matches to qualify, and then you get your rank. Which is how they probably should have done it to begin with, but hey, whatever. On top of that, those ranked modes will be getting a Master rank and a Grandmaster rank added to them, which wasn't in the game before, so that is a plus. Now, the game isn't exactly perfect. For some reason, this game brings out the worst in people when they lose, and this is something that's not really gone away from lots. It's just less common, far less common. People don't seem to be as audibly salty as they were before, but you can still run into very upset, shall we say, players. Maybe that's because I mainly play Dominion and not so much Duel, so perhaps all of the salty players are just hoarding in Duel, but it's not as bad as For Honor's reputation has you believe. Now, another reason to join Season 7 specifically is that the Valkyrie and Warden reworks will be coming in this season. If you're one of the people that left the game very upset with the fact that you couldn't really make Valkyrie work, well, probably be able to make her work now. Apparently there's going to be a reveal of some sort of new map during the dev stream, and also with the Marching Fire update, the game will apparently also look even better than it does now, and in my opinion the game looks really good, so that's quite attractive. But despite those things, you'll probably be wondering why you'll never be able to find a skirmish or an elimination game, and why those modes are barren for the most part. Well, besides the fact that they upset too many players, there's also the fact that it was revealed some time ago that Dominion gives much better XP and steal rewards than either of these modes. So add the frustration to that fact, and it's not too hard to see why Dominion is the most played game mode. I think at some point Tribute was rivaling the amount of steal and XP that Dominion gives, but I'm not too sure what happened with that, and most people still play Dominion, so I'm guessing Dominion is still the top dog in that regard. Plus, Dominion is just genuinely fun as well. Duel doesn't give nearly as much XP, I know that for a fact, as Dominion does, or at least not per individual match. That might be something to consider though, in terms of the actual number of game modes you can play now in the game. It's, well, Dominion that you'll be able to find players for. Duel you'll be able to find players for fairly consistently. Tribute doesn't usually take that long necessarily. The other modes, you're in for a bit of a wait. Of course, with the Marching Fire update, or Season 8, you're getting a new mode and characters and that jazz, but maybe newer players, these are differently. For like players just starting off, you'll be able to find deathmatch games and brawl games at the very least. You might be able to find brawl games fairly consistently. But for other game modes, especially as you get higher up, people just play these modes less. So, is For Honor worth your time? Well, I think at the very least it's worth trying. The game has a bunch of sort of free trials every now and then, and it's even coming to Xbox Game Pass, I think. So if you've got an Xbox One, you can try the game out for free, or to just keep it for free. You can have a version of the game for free. I don't know what version that is, but yeah, you can at least try it for free and see if it's worthwhile there. In case you didn't pick it up because you weren't playing on PC. It was only free on PC a few weeks ago, or whenever E3 was. So yes, that was the video on For Honor. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe for more content just like this. But until the next video, have a very good day. I have been Primed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.